going to be like, I can't hear me anyway.
Good morning, folks. Jeremy Larkin, host of the St. George Real Estate Morning Drive with Jesse Paul. We're going to talk today about the three groups of people that I think most benefit from this market right now. Because Jesse, I don't think there's a time for everybody to buy and sell real estate.
No, it's definitely not. Some people need to sit on the sidelines, but
sure do.
But not everybody.
They sure do. Guys, we're live with you from the Larkin Group headquarters, downtown St. George, corner of Tabernacle and University Avenue. Yes, the one with the mural. Yes, across the street from the cemetery. Yes, our neighbors are quiet. What else? That's about it. I think that's about it. Jesse, talk to me. Okay, I've got a question for you. So, what do you see out there right now in the real estate market, guys? Because we help folks like you listening manage your wealth in real estate. What are you seeing?
Right now, it's actually a little bit slower than we thought it was going to be, but that makes a lot of sense with the election. That happens right before an election. Every time it slows down a little bit. But here's also what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a good opportunity for people if they're looking to get a deal on a home.
Well,
because we've got some homes that, say in May and April, would have sold,
correct,
that are just sitting.
You know,
for no real reason.
This is an interesting show and show topic today, only because we do have a lot of realtors who listen to our show. And thank you guys, by the way. And I hope that there's benefit and value. And honestly, I hope you rip off and duplicate every single thing we say and go share it with your clients. Also, you know, if you're looking for support and camaraderie that you likely don't have. Right. I say maybe. It's funny the way that we soft pedal. You don't have it. Right. We'd love to visit with you as well. And because we are growing our organization. But Jesse, realtors I think there's an odd sense of denial when the market gets weird and the market gets a little slow. We've talked about this on the show. If you ask what do you want to call it? A standard realtor off the street, how are things going? They're always going to smile and say,
it's great.
Great.
Okay,
They're so afraid that they'll talk someone out of buying or selling.
So let me explain to you why I'm saying what I'm saying. Okay. So if I look at the hot sheet for 1 week, you know, a normal market would where things are just moving, we would see about the same or less amount of price reductions in a week than new listings. They usually are either just about the same or price reductions would be a little bit less.
When we say price reduction, we mean a seller who has their home on the market and it's not selling.
And they have to reduce their price.
Okay.
So this last week, we have new listings, 95.
Okay.
Guess how many price reductions?
Hit me.
120.
Yeah.
It's very lopsided.
Yeah.
So that tells me that the market's a little bit softer. I mean, not a whole lot, but softer than it has been. So that can be a great time for a buyer to get a better deal.
Absolutely. Right. If I'm a buyer right now in this market, and look, there are two kinds of buyers. There is a buyer who says, I'm looking to move into this neighborhood or that neighborhood, and they have a very specific need. They're going to have a little harder time doing what I'm about to suggest. But there's a second group of buyers who are just looking for a deal. These are either investors or just the nature of the way they shop for a home. Yeah, they do need 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms minimum, but look, if it's a deal, they're going to look at it. If I'm a buyer, I'm looking at property that's been on the market 90 days or longer.
Yep.
And better yet, 150 days or longer.
You know, I was actually listening to a podcast the other day.
Yes.
And I think this is something that is missed by I'm trying to think of the words that I want to use. The younger generation. I think they're all trying to, or many of them are trying to just step right into the turnkey home and not realizing how much power and actual wealth they can gain by going, okay, does the structure of the house meet everything I need? Is there anything that I could do to bring value to this house? Can I do my own carpet? Can I do my own paint? Can I do my own remodels? Ourselves, right, as we live there, to truly gain more equity over time.
Start now.
Right?
Start now.
Where I think 20, 30 years ago, that's what people were looking for. Hey, how can I find a home that needs a little bit of work? I can do the work and really buy into some equity. Versus now, I think it's reversed, whereas so many people are like, no, I don't want to do that. I want it all done, which is great, but you're going to pay a premium price for that, right? You and I have talked about this a lot. What are the two things you can do that will absolutely bring more value than you spend? Carpet and paint, right?
Every single time.
Carpet and paint, a huge, huge return.
Yep.
And a lot of times, I think buyers are not willing to do that. How many listings have we had where we just didn't do it, or the seller couldn't, and they just sat and the buyer's response was, "Yeah, it just needs too much work."
Oh my gosh. And
my question is, are you asking yourself, how much money are you actually costing yourself long-term by not looking at those properties? By not going, man, I could really do myself good if I bought this house, got a great deal on it, and then did that work over the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Or 2 years.
On that note, I'm working with a client who they are selling a home, kind of Washington, Green Springs area, for their mother who moved to assisted living. And, guys, there was just, the home was built in 1996, 1999, one of those two. And there was just a lot of deferred maintenance. And she was quite elderly. And this will often happen, right? She's not maintaining it. She lives there alone. She's lived there alone for a long time. She has adult children, but, I don't know a lot of adult children who have taken on the job of just fixing every single thing on a weekly, monthly basis at mom's house, right?
Yep.
So they move her out, and when they move her out, the initial attitude was, well, hey, mom's home is great. It's probably better than the one that we're competing with up the street.
Yeah.
Well, when we empty the home entirely, you
really see
nothing's hidden by furniture anymore. Nothing's hidden by clutter anymore. And you could really see that this home needed carpet, it needed paint touch-up, it needed the blinds replaced, it needed a half dozen tiles replaced because they were cracked and had been cracked for eons, and more. Right? I mean, we could have gone a lot further. Here's the interesting part, Jesse. The carpet and our friends at Brent's Interiors are going to do the work. The carpet bid, they do a great job. I've been going to Brent's Interiors since I was a child. My parents worked with them. The carpet and the tile replacement, there happened to be 8 or 10 tiles in the garage, thank heavens. That total bid was like $6,500. Okay, so to replace all of the carpet in this townhome, replace the broken tiles. Our good man Lou does handyman work with us, gave us a bid for all the other stuff. And the other stuff was like $3-4 grand. So let's call it $10,000. $10,000 is probably going to, and this is, I kid you not, guys, a $10,000 investment in this home is probably going to swing about 30 for them, for the seller.
I would agree with that.
30 more $1,000.
Yes.
So what Jesse's talking about, so this is so fun. We're going to give you a buyer's perspective and a seller's perspective. From the selling perspective, you should do those things if you can accommodate the investment, because you could sell the home for $30,000 more if you did it. Now, here's the interesting part. We're telling buyers they should purchase homes where you as a seller didn't do those things, right? That's how important it is that you do it.
Yeah, that proves the point, right?
Yes.
You can get so much better of a deal if it's not done.
Yeah.
Right? Because every buyer, if it's not done, even if it, how much did you say that bid was?
I'm going to guess $10,000 total.
Okay, so $10,000
for a bunch of little nonsense items and all brand new carpet.
And we all do this, but for some reason, when we're selling our home, we have a hard time disconnecting from that seller brain, our evil twin, and connecting to our buyer brain. Going, okay, if I was the buyer and I knew it was 10,000, would I actually reduce it by 10,000, or would I reduce it by 20? I would probably reduce it by 20 just because I have to do it.
Yep.
Just to see if I could get it. Now, we all do that.
But Jesse, everybody does that.
But it's hard when we're in the emotion of selling our own property to disconnect and see that truth.
Yeah.
And know it's true.
Well, and imagine the emotion of these folks selling mom's home.
Right. That's even worse.
But what happened is, listen, I watched a video from my friend, my friend AJ Housie. He's in Kelowna, BC, right? He's in British Columbia. He was doing some training for some realtors. And if you're a realtor and you're listening, this message is brought to you by the Larkin Group. This message is for you as a realtor and you as a seller, if you're a seller. Okay, so it's going to go both ways. He said to these agents, the agents who are going to help their clients in this market are the ones who will be absolutely not brutally, but very honest about reality. Very honest about reality.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and he talks about candor, having candor, like being very, very transparent, right? Transparent. And so if you're a realtor, hear me out. You cannot help your clients if you're not willing to have just really like a lot of transparency in the presentation to the seller that says, listen, Jesse, thanks for bringing me out to look at the home. I know, tell me what you want to sell the home for. And Jesse gives me this enormous number.
Yep.
Right. But Jesse's not ready to fix anything in his home. You need to have candor with these people. And if you're a seller, I cannot express this strongly enough. I know you say you want the truth, but the nature of humans, human nature, is we don't really want the truth. And I think they
No, and in fact, they'll many times take the truth as, oh, you're just being negative about my home. I need to find a different agent. Where I would argue that's the guy that actually cares about you. That's the one that actually cares what happens with you and with your home.
Well,
versus the one that's just telling you everything you want to hear. Don't worry, we don't need to do anything. I've got this. I'm going to get you. I want the guy that's actually going to tell me the truth, even if it's going to hurt my feelings, even if it's going to sound negative.
If you're a seller, would you be able to accommodate like not taking it personally? And listen, maybe it is personal because it's your home. So here's how we do this. I did a full walkthrough after the home was empty. And we sent them a Google folder, just a link of all the photos of the home. And when they saw that, it was, the response is, "Oh gosh,
yeah, it's the things that it's the things that especially if you're living there, you're walking through, you're not seeing that.
Oh my goodness, you're not seeing that.
I'm not in my own house. There's all kinds of little projects that I need to get done. I've been meaning to, but I'm not seeing them every day, even though I'm looking at them.
Oh, you listen, it's called wallpaper. We call it wallpaper, and you stop noticing it, right? So, realtors, you have to exercise. You have to really use transparency and be willing to share with a client, hey, this, I want to help you. As a matter of fact, I want to help you so badly that I'm willing to have you reject me and, I don't know, kick me out of your home because I gave you the truth, right? But I cannot take your home on as a marketing project without being honest up front.
Right.
All right, let's talk about 3 groups of people who I think really stand to win in this market. By the way, our show is actually brought to you by our friends at Guild Mortgage, Chantry Abbott and his team. They are so good. We love working with them. They'll be in our office today eating lunch, and Chantry's going to be doing some education for us on, and this is actually for buyers, sellers, and realtors, education on navigating new commission
the new changes,
compensation rules based on the NAR lawsuit. And as we leave, don't let me forget, Jesse, to tell people where they can go watch a full 7-minute video on the topic.
Okay.
So, show's brought to you by Guild Mortgage. So I want to stump for those guys. 3 groups of people who stand to win in this market. Number one, I'm going to list them fast, and I want to go back through.
Okay.
Number one is a cash buyer looking for a deal. Mm-hmm. They're way more than you think. Okay. Number 2 is you're if you know how to find them. Number 2 is a condo townhome owner who has some equity who's looking to move up.
Yep.
They really win in this market because if they purchased their home at least 3 years ago, they have gobs of equity.
They have a ton of equity.
Yeah. If they purchased it 5 years ago, they have 5 gobs. And if they purchased it 10 years ago, they have 32 trillion tons.
Yeah.
I don't know. Something like that. The third group are investors / second homeowners, or it's three, but it's one, or retirees who have a ton of equity who want to downsize. And what that would look like is taking $500,000 of your money, throwing it in a high yield savings account at 5% and living risk free.
Right.
Let's come back and walk through these. Number one is the cash buyer looking for a deal. I think there's some deals.
I do too, especially right now.
I do.
And I think the closer we get to the election, the more deals that there'll be.
The problem is that people will get panicky, right? The stock market had some big drops recently, and I had a quote that I think I can share. This is from a guy. He's really great. Guys, we've got a really strong Instagram presence. If you haven't seen us, at Larkin Group. His quote was this. He's somebody I follow when we shared this. An advantage of owning real estate, you can't just get nervous one morning and click sell. So good.
Oh,
An advantage owning real estate, you can't just get nervous one morning and click sell.
That's good.
Which a lot of people did with their stocks.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett always says, I like it when the stock that I purchased from a good company goes down because I purchase more of it while it's down.
You know, my grandfather used to say, the stock market's great, but you have to discipline yourself not to look at it every day.
Yes.
If you look at it every day, you will absolutely lose your lunch.
Yeah, and that's correct. And
so he just never looked at it.
Real estate's very different, right?
And it did him very well.
Yeah. Correct.
To disconnect from.
So, and you know, when we look at real estate, it's like that. It's a long-term hold. It's not the kind of thing where you're checking your equity every day. However, I do think there are some deals for cash buyers right now.
I do too.
Second group we talked about is your condo townhome owner that purchased at least 3 years ago. I want to be clear about this. There are some who have seen some appreciation in the last 2 years, but Jesse, I'm going out 3 years.
They've definitely.
You need to have purchased 3 years ago.
At least 3 or more. Yep.
And you're going, I want to move up, right? Mm-hmm. And if you purchase 5 years or more, but interest rates are so high. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're high, right? They're higher. But at the same time, if you could trade $150K of equity into the next property, you could do really well.
Yeah, and here's why I think the timing is so important. You know, and this isn't the realtor going, oh, just wait if this happens. I think it's a reality. If we see interest rates drop, which was what everybody's waiting for.
They're hoping for a September
Do you remember
drop.
3 years ago when somebody that had a home to sell didn't have a prayer?
Yes.
Right? They just didn't even have a prayer. They had to sell, to get a lease back, and then hope they could find a home in the time of the lease back.
And what he's talking about is that when the market was so hot
when
in
it was
late
so
20
hot,
and all of 21, if you had a home to sell and you were trying to purchase, so I'm just going to give you an example. Let's say that you lived in Washington Fields and you wanted to move to, I don't know, Santa Clara. And you needed to sell your home to get the money out of it before you could purchase the next one. You didn't have a chance if you offered, because people would be like, sorry, I've got a cash buyer who will close in 2 weeks. Right?
Right. So how many people have just been on hold for 2 years?
A whole bunch.
Waiting for the market to either crash or the interest rates to come down. Well, the market didn't crash. It adjusted a little bit, but then this year it started to come back. Once we hit under or in the fives, I really believe that we'll have because we have some pent up demand. There's people that want to move that just haven't.
There are going to be people who want to move, Jesse, but didn't because of their interest rate, and eventually they'll just move.
So here's where the advantage is for that townhome buyer. They're going to be in a price range that's still pretty strong, right? And if they're moving up, they're moving into a price range that's a little bit weaker than they're in right now. So they're going to have a better market for the townhome, right? Step up where they're going to be able to get possibly a little bit better of a deal, or at least have a chance to get a home. Where if they wait for it to be least expensive for the house payment, right? Now you're going to have more competition. Now, granted, you're going to have a great time. You're going to get more money for your townhome, but will you be able to compete for the house you want?
Oh man.
Right now you can.
What a great perspective, because you're selling in one market, the under 500 townhome, small home market, and you're moving to another market, the 6 to 8 or $100,000 or $1 million single family home market, which is less competitive, right?
Right.
We have, guys, we talked a lot on the show about a home I sold, what we called the Nest. Well, we listed another one 9 days ago, the CV home on the same street, 1 block south on 200 West down from Town Square. The historic CV home, such a cool home, built for $300 in 1939. It's a really cool story. Put that home under contract in 8 days.
Nice.
At 99% of the asking price. And, it was just, if you can get, guys, if you're selling, you can get your price, but you have to be prepared to go to the market the right way, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Or you can fumble around and rush and you'll pay. Let me give you this third group that stands to really win. We talked about 3 groups that really stand to win in this market. One is a cash buyer looking for a deal. Number 2 is your condo townhome owners that have owned for 3 years or more and they want to move up. Mm-hmm. They have a lot of equity. If they've owned for 5 years, holy cow. The last one are investors, second homeowners, kind of the same thing, or retirees, right? That have, we're talking $500 to $1 million in equity.
Yep.
It's interesting in our final 2 minutes. There's a rule with your mutual funds, stocks, and that kind of thing, your retirement accounts, that you can live on about 4%, that you can plan on about taking 4% a year out to, basically you're going to get 4% a year no matter what over time.
Okay, yeah.
And live on this. Well, what if you took your home and sold it and pulled $500,000 in equity and you put it in, a high yield savings account?
Okay.
Right? Move to a smaller home with far less cost, far less maintenance, took some of that interest on an annualized basis, right? That would be an interesting play, right? I also think there are a whole bunch of these second homeowners and investors, and we've talked about this in the past, who don't want to sell because in their head, they don't want to pay taxes. But let me just play a game with you. You have a home that you have, let's say you sell it, you cash out, and you take between $200,000 and $500,000 in cash. That's very normal for second home investors that have owned for a long time.
Yep.
$200,000 to $500,000 in profit. Wouldn't you be willing to pay your taxes to get that money? See, if you're keeping it because you desperately want your kids to have it another day,
that's different.
That's different. But what could you do with that money, right? Could you go live in an RV or not live in an RV, live in a smaller home, an RV all the time? So I'm not saying it's for everyone, but I think there are a lot of people who just literally the idea of not paying taxes is so strong that they actually haven't considered, Jesse, what it would look like. Like, honey, what if we sold these rentals? I had a friend, I'll tell you a fun story as we wrap up. His name's Joe. 4 years ago, he sold everything he owned, and he and his wife purchased a sailboat with their 2 teenage kids, and they moved to Grenada, and they renovated the sailboat. They knew nothing about sailing, and then for the next 2 years, they sailed the Caribbean. Well, we're at our time's up. I hear radio. What am I hearing?
Studios.
We're out.
Radio 890, 92.5, KDXU.
They're not giving us any warning, man.
Town Square Media Station.
Oh, I missed it. Okay. Kate, I want to keep talking on our Facebook Live. That's so hilarious. Yeah, I want to hear that story. Yeah. So these guys, this is too funny. So I'm going to start from the top since we got interrupted with the radio
that was good.
Let's, by the way, side note, let's come up with a system with them that's even better. Because I think they need to say something even in here. Hey, fine, we got 1 minute,
or
man.
we need to be able to hear that music before.
Yeah, like Andy said, what do you got in the final minute? Might be helpful. Okay, so yeah, because that music hit me, man, and I was like, whoops, sorry, I missed that.
Well, and it wasn't even ours.
Yeah,
it was like the next.
Yeah, it was next. It was not our takeaway stuff, guys. So here, check this out. Let me tell you a story about cashing out of your investment properties to do something that you want to do. All right, my friend Joe, 4 years ago, about 5 years ago, he and his wife got this crazy idea. They owned about a dozen rentals at the time. And they had purchased them a long time ago. And I mean, they owned many of these free and clear. Mm-hmm. And they got this crazy idea they were going to go sailing. They had 2 teenage daughters. I think at the time they were 13 and 15. Guys, these were not retirees. Well, maybe they're 12 and 14. I know these girls. And they did their research. And over the next year, they figured out where to buy a boat. And they purchased a sailboat that was somewhere far away, and it had to be sailed to the island of Grenada. They sold everything they owned, everything, their home, their business, their cars. I purchased both of his pairs of Oakley sunglasses to mountain bike in. Like, they sold everything. And I purchased a mountain bike. They cashed out a couple of rentals, I think. Took several $100,000. It would have been many hundreds of thousands of dollars. Uh-huh. Moved to Grenada. They spend the next year renovating the boat. They spend the next 2 years sailing. They sell all over the Caribbean. They met other families doing the exact same thing. They'd pull into port for a while at certain places.
So was that before COVID then? Or right about when it started?
Right through COVID.
Okay.
Right through COVID. COVID's going on, and they were like out sailing. They spent 2 years on the water. Girls homeschooled on a sailboat.
That's so cool.
This is like a sailboat you live in. It has a cabin underneath.
Yeah, yeah.
What an adventure. And now they're back home. And he's been back home about a year. As a matter of fact, he's going on a biking trip with me in the next month. And I want you to just think about that experience. And I'm going to tell you something I'm watching play out, Jesse, with a lot of these investors who have rentals. I don't want to pay taxes. I'm not selling. What are you spending your retirement doing? When did you decide you were going to live? Because listen, there are a lot of boomers and a little bit older than boomers. What is the generation before them? The greatest generation? I don't know what they call them.
Silent generation?
The silent generation?
Yeah. I think so.
Tom Brokaw called it the greatest generation. Listeners, there are a whole bunch of people, specifically baby boomers, and I might be talking to you. You own rental properties that, now listen, if you use them as tax shelters, I understand. I know that some of you have reasons, but I think there are a lot of folks who sit on these properties with this aversion that is so strong to tax that you spent your whole life grinding, because that generation did a lot of grinding, right? Like working long hours, saving, pinching pennies, not buying things on credit. And now you're retired and there's all this cash sitting in your rental properties, especially if you own, say, 2 to 4 or more. Mm-hmm. What if you sold one? Pay the taxes. Okay. So let's say you sell your property. Should we play a game, Jesse? Yep. You bought a property for $120,000 and you bought it in 1998. It's now worth $600,000.
Okay.
You sell it. It's also, do you think anyone who bought a home in 1998 has a loan on it?
Probably not.
Not this generation. It's
paid off.
You sell that home for $600,000 cash. Let's say that you paid 35% in taxes. Let's say you were in that bracket. Huge number. It's $210,000. Huge number. I don't think you'd pay that much. I'm running
and then on capital gains, I think the highest is like 20.
Probably 20%. 20, okay.
Yeah.
So right. I'm trying to come up with the craziest scenarios. Let's say 20%. 120,000. You're left with $480,000 to, I don't know, go sailing, renovate the home. How many times has your wife or husband said, we have to renovate this, build the garage, buy 3 horses and live at your cabin, live in drive the entire country in an RV while your body still works? You know, I watch this scenario play out a lot, Jesse, in real estate, where people, they sell their property or they cash out of life when their bodies are broken down and not working anymore.
Right.
Like what? I really am asking a question. It's not a question of criticism. It's a question that for people to think, what is it you're waiting for? Because life's happening right now. And I think this is a group that stands to really benefit from selling in this market right now. Also, the money could just go in a
Or do you have a second home that you're just not using enough?
Oh my gosh. If you have a second home that you're not using enough and you've owned it more than 3 years,
Yep.
you are sitting, and by the way, most people, they own it more than 3 years. And if you own a second home in another market, we actually can refer you to one of our great partners there. So isn't that an interesting question to think about?
It is. It definitely is.
Yeah, because do you have grandkids?
8.
I knew this. I just wanted
I have 8 grandkids.
to post this for the show. Jesse has 8 grandkids.
You know, that is my life. We travel quite often, actually.
How often?
We usually will take 2 trips every quarter to see some grandkid.
Okay, so at least 12 times a year.
Yeah.
Okay, 8 times a year. At least 8 times a year, you travel on a plane typically to see your grandchildren, or drive
drive 8 hours.
8 hours to Idaho.
Yeah,
Don't you like doing that when your body works and you can get in a car and like?
I do.
You get a little stiff when you get out because hey, come on, if you're over 40, that happens.
It's funny what happens then when you're over 50, though. You really have to start thinking about your traveling.
What are you talking about over 50, dude? I've been thinking about my traveling for a decade. Did it take you this long to figure this out?
Well, no, it took it this long for it to affect me.
Did it not affect you going red eyes and stuff in your 40s?
Nope.
Insane.
Not at all.
I couldn't even do it.
But boy, now it does.
I haven't been able to do a red eye for a decade. And
now
I'm 49.
it does, man. It's like, it's a full day just trying to recover.
I cannot
Where
believe
before,
it did not affect you.
like even a couple years ago, no problem.
Oh my gosh. You know,
but we're I'm a young 53. Like, so I'm in pretty good health. So that's probably why. But you're actually way healthier than I am. So I can't say that.
Yeah, I'm in good shape right now for sure.
Very good shape.
Training for a bike race that I'm going to do in 2 weeks. You know, Jesse, let's think about this. So you travel 8 times a year. When you travel,
at least.
So when you travel to see your grandkids, do you just sit around and watch TV on the couch because you're so old and tired that your body doesn't work anymore?
Mm-mm.
Or did you go mountain biking with your little grandkids?
Go mountain biking. We go do stuff. We don't sit around.
So do you see the setup that I'm doing here? We have a whole bunch of folks sitting with second homes and rentals that have a lot of cash tied up in them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some folks will say, look, I take $2,000 a month in and rent. I'm happy with it. Or if they own 10 of them and they're all paid off, I take $20,000 a month in and rent and don't worry about it. Totally hear that, right? But if you're sitting on a lot of cash and you feel like if you had that cash to do something else, this is the kind of market where you could win. I think a lot of the people who own second homes and rentals, a lot of the rentals are under $600,000. Lots of them.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of them.
And here's what's interesting. I want to bring this up because it could seem like we're talking out of both sides of our head right now, because we started the show what a great time it is to get a deal. And the reason for that, I believe, is how many homes are on the market that aren't doing what you did with your home and the other one downtown, right? They're just throwing them on the market, and they're throwing them on the market overpriced, and they're right instead of really going through and trying to make it perfect.
Amen.
And trying to get the pricing right. So we're not really talking out of both sides of our head. We're saying this could be a great time to sell and do it right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't just get in a hurry and slap it up there and hope you get something. Really be strategic, and it can be a great experience right now.
Absolutely.
Because it's not a bad market.
Here's a couple of fun thoughts. No, it's not a bad market. It's just slower than people thought it would be right now. Mm-hmm. It's slower than realtors want it to be. It's slower than some sellers want it to be. And it's definitely slower if you think that if you're putting your home on the market thinking it's 2 years ago. So here's a fun shift of gears. Last week, the entire Washington County multiple listing service, all the agents that work here in the county, we had to shift the way that we handle real estate commissions.
Uh-huh. And I've got an idea that's going to tie that all together when you're done explaining it.
I love this. Blake likes to talk about hot takes. Here's a hot take. This lawsuit comes down, and the lawsuit alleged that there wasn't enough transparency in who was paying the commissions. It alleged that buyers were, led to believe they didn't have to pay the commission, but since they were funding the deal, quite frankly, they always paid the commission. It alleged that sellers didn't understand that they were paying the buyer's agent's commission. That's impossible. But here's maybe one of the most important parts. They put these attorneys, guys, almost $1 billion in damages have been levied. The attorneys make a third of that. Okay, first of all, a third of $1 billion. And gang, this isn't 1.5 million realtors. This is a few attorneys at a law firm. They get a third of $1 billion. So They put these lofty statements out.
That's a lot of money.
We feel that the average cost of a home for the American buyer homeowner was unfairly elevated because of commissions. Here's your hot take. You ready? This change could actually cause housing prices to go up.
I just realized how that's going to happen this morning. I'm like, that's interesting.
You're going to have a bunch of...
when they were thinking the opposite would be true.
Yeah, you're going to have a bunch of sellers get the idea that they don't have to pay a commission to a buyer's agent. So when the buyer comes in and offers and negotiates for their agent's commission as part of the deal, that the sellers were always... the commissions come from the proceeds of the sale. It's not the seller's money and it's not the buyer's money. It's from the proceeds. And do you know why I say that? The buyer thinks it's their money. The seller thinks it's their money.
Yeah, and that is proven time and time again when a buyer will come in without an agent and just automatically reduce the sales price.
Hey, well, I don't have an agent. I want to reduce the price by 3%. So let's run a question.
Because they think it's their money.
Let's run a question. Jesse, I come in without a realtor right now.
Yep.
You have your house listed. I want you to reduce the price by 3%. Do you want to give me the 3% or do you want to keep the 3% because I have no realtor as a seller?
You want to keep it.
Of course
That's
you
your
do.
Equity.
Guys, I have bad news.
It's been interesting.
Home sellers are, and this is not bad news. It's kind of sarcastic. Home sellers are not on a charitable endeavor, a mission to fund buyers by giving back commissions to them. Mm-hmm. Sellers are in it for themselves.
Or any kind of concession.
Okay. Sellers have always been in it for themselves. By the way,
wait a minute.
All of us.
Not just sellers. Everybody.
This is my point.
We all are. For themselves, right?
Everybody is in it for themselves, right? So if you're a buyer and you're coming in and you're going, well, we heard that the rules have changed and that buyers may have to pay their own commission. I'll come in without a realtor. I'll come in unrepresented and have you give me the commission. Well, first of all, the seller ain't going to do that. Okay.
Right.
This is number one. Number two, you're going to have sellers that say, oh, you want a commission? I'm going to raise it. Because here's the problem. Sellers pull comps with their agent. Comps are called comparables, comparable sales. They go, I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhome. What have they been selling for? Well, the last 19 in the neighborhood have sold for an average of $329,032. Okay, whatever. Great. So they list the home at $329,000. See, those are actual market prices. You don't list your home and add commission to the top, right? So what's going to happen is you will have sellers who want to add the commission to the top of the deal.
Oh, you will.
Now, if the home will appraise, that could be rolled into closing costs, could be. But what this thing stands to do, the hot take, is it stands to actually raise the cost of homes nationwide.
Yeah,
wild.
Interesting to see.
Wild.
Interesting.
Right, but here's the recap. because I think we need to talk about it for a few weeks. The recap is that before the commission that was offered the agent representing the buyer was clearly displayed in the multiple listing service. It no longer is. It has been removed from the multiple listing service, and they
where before we at least had a way of tracking. Okay, that was that much. That was that much. This had concessions. This didn't. Now we have we won't know what did, what didn't, what.
Yeah, there's kind of a fascinating term. They refer to it as most. I bet there aren't 5 agents in Washington County who've heard of this term I'm about to use. Horizontal price fixing. Horizontal price fixing means you as a seller hire me at let's say 5% of the sales price, 6% of the sales price, 10% of the sales price, 4%. Okay, but everyone says the standard was 6%. Well, there was no official standard, but there was certainly a benchmark.
It was all over the board.
Let's say that you hire me for 6% of the sales price to sell your home.
Yep.
I then take the 6% that you committed and I give half of it to another agent. Horizontal price fixing, meaning the agent and we're not intending to price fix, but we price fix by saying, I know that you want 3%. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to negotiate with my seller to pay me 3%, 6%, so I can give you 3%. So in a horizontal way, I fix the price.
Interesting.
This is kind of what they talked about. Sharon Srivatsa, who's the real CEO, talks about this. So what they've done is by eliminating it, the horizontal price fixing goes away because here's the deal now. The agent on the other side is no longer negotiating with me for his commission. He's actually negotiating with you, the seller.
Yep. Well, first with the buyer.
Correct.
Because he has to have a buyer broker agreement.
Yes.
And he cannot get paid more than his buyer broker agreement says.
Yeah.
So it'd be, and that's, I think that was the whole intent. Make them negotiate their own commission and not have it be predetermined.
Predetermined. Yeah. So good point. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't really have any thoughts, but I think that it's going to be a great thing overall. 5 years from now, we'll look back and go, okay, maybe that was a good thing. It's going to take a while. Here's my thought. We were talking earlier about, what are you waiting for? Mm-hmm. What is going to make your life better? We have watched an industry just melt down, trying to find every which way possible to protect themselves.
Yeah, we're watching realtors who are more concerned with protecting themselves than just saying,
okay, just going to work. Okay, how do we fix it? How do we? Okay, versus, and I'm just going to use our office because I know what's going on in our office. What have we been talking about? Okay, how do we make sure our skills and our value is so good that somebody would just love to work with us and know that and you know me, I absolutely believe no matter what, if I do the right thing for the client, everything else will work out, including money.
Guys, I
don't ever think about money.
This could so sound like lofty language. The reality is we actually believe that. You see how I live. Right? I really think that. I negotiated something, by the way, yesterday to my financial detriment.
Yeah.
No, here's what happened. We had a client who has a great home, who was not cooperating with, at least this new commission structure is already causing this issue.
Yep.
Buyers thinking, I don't want to pay my own fee, and sellers thinking I'm going to get away with not paying a buyer's fee. And do you see this hurts deals?
It's going to be tough.
We got to the end and I looked at my seller who was being obstinate about the buyer agent's fee. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you something that I said. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay the difference out of my commission. And I said, you know why? And the seller said, oh, because you feel bad for the other agent. I said, not at all. And
you don't want it to affect them.
Yeah, you got it. I said, here's the problem. I do not believe you'll get a better offer than this.
Yep.
based on time on market, based on the number of showings it had, and my expertise from selling 2,000 homes, I do not believe you'll get a better deal. And here's what's going to happen. When I go back to their agent for the second round of negotiations on their commission, the buyer is going to say, I don't like this seller. I don't like this seller's attitude at all. My agent's important to me. And the fact that they won't pay my agent's commission, I'm out. I'm out.
How this year, how many buyers have you seen walk away over a counteroffer?
Guys, counteroffers of tiny sums of
Like
money.
little bit.
Okay. By the way,
And they say, oh, that seller's not willing to negotiate.
guess.
And the offers were crazy.
Do you want to know how much the money was? $950.
Oh my gosh.
$950. I said, I'll take it out of my side. Well, is it because you feel bad? No.
Because I don't want you to lose a buyer.
And I said, you're going to lose this deal. And then what's going to happen is we're going to have to start over. And then you're going to sell this for $10,000 or $20,000 less than you are today.
Yeah. And that's
Right?
a fact.
And that's a fact.
That's a fact.
Right?
So, and that comes
Goodness.
right back down to, if you always do what's right for your client, if you always have their interest first, everything else will work itself out.
Yeah.
Like it'll work out differently with each one, but at the end, everybody will be whole.
Yeah. Yeah. This is an interesting time in real estate for sure. And so, if you're a realtor and you're listening and you're puzzled about these new standards, hey, of course you are. Who's not puzzled? We have a folder right now with 8 new forms from the state of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, some of them aren't brand new, but they're revised.
Yeah, they
Several
have
of them are
revised
brand new. 8, is it 8? I think it's 8.
Yeah,
Call it 8.
something like that.
8 brand new forms. Do you know what we challenged our team yesterday? We told our salespeople here at the Larkin Group that anyone who reads them all 10 times by next Wednesday gets a prize. We literally are incentivizing our team to go through 8 legal forms, read them word for word, 10. Guys, by the way, that's going to take a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we believe that they win and you win when we understand the rules.
Yes. And this is actually just for agents. If you're an agent out there and you're trying to find a way
To get around this?
start practicing your skills. Start really figuring out where is my value and get so good at delivering that. And you will win in this, no matter what happens with this.
I'll tell you that real estate is an industry where 95% of the business is done by 5% of the people. And I'm going to tell you why, because 5% of the real estate
Are
agents
actually practicing.
are the most skilled.
Are going, how do I get better?
Yeah.
How do I get better? How do I get better?
Yeah.
How do I connect with more people? How do I make sure I'm serving at the highest level?
Yeah. And this, guys, of course, we're talking about this NAR commissions lawsuit and new compensation structures that we're required by law. If you're a buyer, Jesse, you cannot enter a home that is listed without some type of a representation agreement. And one would be either a exclusive buyer broker agreement saying that the agent walking you in is your agent,
Exclusively representing you.
or at a minimum, you will have to sign
showing
what is called a limited showing agreement.
Yep.
And it does not mean by the way, here's what a limited showing agreement means. It says, by the way, you acknowledge that this is a listed property. I'm a licensed agent and I'm walking you through the home. I do not represent you and I cannot give you any guidance, professional guidance. This actually benefits the real estate industry. Do you know how long we have worked for free? It's so interesting. the consumer complains, this whole lawsuit complained in so many levels about commissions, right? What commissions are being paid out. Do you know how much work the average realtor, and this is not me lamenting, this is actually me as like a team owner who trains agents. I watch agents do hundreds, if not thousands of hours of work for free annually, right?
Yep.
And this isn't a gamble. They're making a gamble that they will have some clients that they work with that actually purchase or sell a home, right?
Yeah.
And so an agent might work with you for, there's no retainer. You know, your attorney takes a retainer or they bill you hourly. The agent might work with you for 6 or 12 months without being paid, right?
And may never get paid. You might say, oh yeah, I decided not to move.
How many times
And they
have we had
worked
that?
for a year showing you properties when you came to town.
Yeah, we decided to move to
meeting
Wisconsin.
With
You know,
happens all the time, right? And never paid nothing, which is the way it's set up, which is fine.
Yeah. So look, this actually benefits the real estate industry because as an industry, you stop. Look, I think we should always give great guidance. You know, I had a developer here in town, big time developer that I know well. We worked with them and thought we might be representing a project for them, and they decided to work with another company where it was more of a fit. But he said, I really want to work with the Larkin Group. And he reached out to me and he asked me some questions about Moab. I didn't tell you this.
Oh yeah.
What do you know about Moab? I said, well, I've ridden my bike there a lot. And I follow the real estate market out there. And we're licensed to work out there. We're actually part of it's actually, do you know it's actually utahrealestate.com?
Yeah, I did.
So I said, what are you looking for? He said, I'm looking for some townhome data, some absorption rates and things. An hour later, I sent him 3 reports, 18 months of condo absorption data, meaning how quickly are the condos being absorbed into the market at what prices, townhome data, and then a combination. I sent him 3 reports with a video saying, hey, blank, here's what you're looking at. Here's what it looks like. We do this for people. This isn't what I'm talking about, right? That's normal business.
Yes.
And again, we work for free until it's time to be engaged professionally.
Yeah. Until we actually sell a home. Or,
Yeah. But I do think that realtors often don't see their value, right? They don't see the value in the time they put in. Guys, if you want to watch, last week we shot a video. It's about 7 minutes. 7 minutes feels like an eternity to most people because we want 15-second reels.
Oh, man.
You know, it's actually our friends here at Blue Form Media who are right here in the studio with us today in the Larkin Group headquarters. They called me last Saturday. It was great, huh, Blake? Blake calls me. I'm like, hello? Oh, hey, Blake, I'm on my bike. What are you doing? Well, I'm in the middle of a 5-hour training ride in Park City, and I'm going to wrap up with a story about agents skilling up.
Which is what
and
we've been talking
shortcuts.
about.
Okay, this is all going to tie together. We're going to wrap the show up with this. I was literally in the middle of it, pedaling through a trail that was above the Colony. The Colony is the richest area, most wealthy spot in Park City. Blake, how crazy was the raised freeway, looping roundabout freeway entrance that entered this house? Pretty crazy. Yeah, guys, literally, it looked like it kind of made 2 turns, 2 loops, like a raised freeway that you see in Vegas that goes up over the other freeway. They had that kind of an entrance to their home in the Colony. I'm guessing that alone was a couple million. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, homes in there are like 30 to 50.
Okay.
So he said, I just uploaded this to your YouTube channel, and Jesse, we could link it in this Facebook, but you might not have it.
Let me go see.
He said, tell me what you think. So I was pedaling for 5 hours. I know that sounds insane. And at that point, Blake, I was like 2.5 in. We were about halfway. So I listened to it. And I'm going to tell you something, guys. And this is very, very, I cannot be more honest. It's a good video. You know, I was freaking out. Like, I shot it in one take at 7 minutes. Guys, I thought, thank you, man. I was like, this is a good video. Agents rip the video off. I asked these guys to break it into 5 pieces. The cool news is you guys saw, none of it has to be moved around. It's just like, take those sections out. Like,
our editor's chopping that today.
Thank you. So it's going to be 5 pieces that walk you through the steps. But guys, it's a good video. And it says, look, here's what happened. Here's what happens now for you as a buyer, a seller. And here's our stance, right? Here's our stance. Well, if you're a realtor and we wrap this show up, you know, I'm 2.5 hours into a training ride. I've driven myself to Northern Utah. That's it, Jesse. Or Bryan Head or Cedar Mountain the entire summer to train for a race that I'm going to do on August 31st. The race is going to take me about 10 hours. I know. It's not really a race. For me, it's a completion. Realtors, you can try and find your way around this NAR lawsuit in any way you want. You can bend the rules, you can break the rules, you can make up your own little secret forums that you want to use. We're hearing this. We actually heard about a team in town. It's despicable, who is making a form that the state won't know about. That's basically, it's a double contract. Hey, here's the deal. We're going to ask for a huge commission if the seller will pay it. And if they won't pay it, we'll only charge you this. I would assume it's actually illegal to do that. It's a way around the rules. And if you don't understand what this is, we can explain this in more depth. Do you know that this race, guys, is there a way for me to shortcut planning for a day of 10 hours on the bike?
No.
Guys, I can't take an e-bike. By the way, there's no performance enhancing drug I could take that would make me suddenly go from a 2-hour rider to a 10-hour rider.
Yeah, no way.
So here's what it looks like. Here's what the training looks like. This week I didn't ride Monday or Tuesday because the weekend was heavy and I was saddle sore.
Uh-huh.
Last night I rode for an hour and 40 minutes in Pine Valley with the high school mountain biking team. An hour and 20 of that was a pace with the fastest group on that team. Yeah. That was literally, guys, blowing my legs up. I got home at 9 p.m. I made myself a quick meal, 2 eggs, toast, and one of these Orgain protein shakes, and was asleep by 10:15. I got up at 5:30 a.m. This morning, the ride was an hour and 36 minutes. And I followed a very, very measured program. I work with a coach. It was all on my bike computer. It literally said, be in this zone, in this zone, in this zone, in this zone.
So it tells you where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. And that ride, that was an hour and 36 minutes. And that was completed this morning. And it was 22.04, an hour and 38 minutes, 22 miles through Santa Clara and Snow Canyon. I was using Snow Canyon for some of the intervals. I was tired.
Yeah,
Tomorrow I'll take the day off. Saturday I will do a 5-hour ride, which will actually be done with the high school team. They're doing something cool. They get to earn an endurance pin if they do this ride on Saturday.
Nice.
And only the top 2 groups are doing 50 miles, Jesse.
Oh, wow.
It's a 50-mile ride.
Nice.
I'll do 5 hours Saturday, 3.5 Sunday. Monday I'll ride light for an hour. Tuesday I'll be off, and Wednesday the thing starts for one more week, and then the week after is the race. This has been my summer.
Yeah, you've been
okay. There's a really important message here, guys. The message has nothing to do with whether I'm a cool dude or I'm good on my bike. I'm not even terribly fast. The message is there are certain processes in life that you can't shortcut. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you something. Some of my favorite authors on the planet, they say, you know what the beauty is of your health? You can't buy it.
No,
by the way, you can take Ozempic. You can get surgery. You still can't get health. Do you see the difference?
Yeah.
You didn't buy your health. You can't buy your health. Well, realtors, listen to me. You cannot buy skills. You cannot go to Zillow. Do you if you're a consumer listening to our podcast, do you realize that twice a week, Zillow reaches out and tries to sell me ad space? Yeah. Ad space looks like this. When you click on a listing and ask for more information, they sell me your info.
Yep.
Homes.com reaches out to me once a month. Realtor.com reaches out to me once a month. I probably get 100 emails a week from other providers.
Yep,
they want me to buy the business.
They want me to buy your information.
If you're an agent right now listening, you can't buy your skills. Your skills have to be learned in the trenches. And they have to be learned in the trenches as 2 forms. One is with actual clients, buyers and sellers, and the other is scripting and dialoguing and memorizing in private. Mm-hmm. And the best way to give an example is, when you go to the theater, Jesse, have you been to the theater?
Yeah.
You sure have. You love to go over to, what's the theater you love to go to over there?
Tuacahn.
And what was the other one? What's the one you guys go to over in Hurricane?
It's the Ratlin D over at Diamond Ranch Academy. The old Diamond.
Do you think they've memorized and internalized the script?
Oh yeah.
That's why they're able to get up and sing and dance and be funny. And by the way, they can do the same show 5 nights in a row and it's just as funny every time.
Yep.
You can't buy skills as a real estate agent. You can buy leads. You can buy names and phone numbers of people who have shown interest in buying or selling a home. But you cannot buy skills. And the race I'm doing, the Park City Point to Point, which has been on my bucket list, twice I entered and sold my registration because I didn't think I trained
you weren't
enough.
ready?
And if you go to their website, they'll say, if you didn't get in, it's sold out in 6 minutes. 6
Wow.
minutes. By the way,
6 minutes?
there's a forum. It's the buy sell forum. You can buy a registration from people who didn't train enough. There's no buying it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no buying it, dude. I have to have these dumb weeks. Oh, guess what else isn't in entails? There's no staying up late. There's no going to the movies.
No.
It's like
You're training.
I'm training, right? Plus, by the way, I'm running a business and I'm being a dad.
Yeah.
So the consumer listening to us, you can't buy your health. Realtors, you can't buy skills. You have to become great at what you do so you can help your people, your buying and selling clients, and so you can feed your family. You have to do that. Jeremy Larkin, Jesse Paul, the Larkin Group, Keller Williams Realty. Visit us at either gostgeorge.com if you're a consumer, GOSTgeorge.com, and you want to buy, sell, invest. Just talk to us. Gostgeorge.com. If you're a realtor looking for a home, we're in it right now. Joinlarkingroup.com. You don't have to join Larkin Group, but it's joinlarkingroup.com. Over now.
All right. Thanks for having us, guys.